Well, so let's get interactive. Again, we have to tell you that we have cash out, and cash out always goes with a short code *439#. And we do encourage you, make sure that you cash out with us, because we're going to have some interesting conversations following all the analysis that has been done, Ghana tonight, and then streaming into this morning as we transition to also comprehensively look at the decision that has been made by Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. And we do know he's been in the top race, if not the contending position to lead the NPP as a presidential candidate since 2007. And since that year, when he decided to concede at the time that we're supposed to have a second round at least, to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who we now know ultimately became the presidential candidate to lead the party to the presidency, and currently, of course, he is the president. We've since had some interesting statistics relating to how he has related or performed to the either admiration of his opponent or to his own followers within the New Patriotic Party. Why do we have this decision? And then what is the future now for Alan Kyerematen? We'll take you through the statement and then subsequently speak to some key leading officials. So this morning, we encourage you to share, not only share, but also give us your comments. Good morning to you, Money Ni Money. You're watching us from the UK, Lion Ni Lion. And subsequently also, we have Amoda Hamidu all joining us on TV3 Ghana across social media. I have Abbas Nuruddin. Abbas Nuruddin is joining us, if I can recall, for the first time. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Roland, and good morning to your cherished viewers. But this is the fourth time I've been here.
Yeah, certainly. You're joining me for the first time, I meant. So, and then also we have a regular on the show, hasn't been here for, I think, almost a month or less than a month now, but it's been a while I've seen him, but he's here. He was last on Key Points, so that also makes him a regular to our channel. We welcome him. And Alfred Thompson is a stalwart of the NPP, especially in the central region. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
Yeah.
And you're also from the central region.
Yes. So that it helps many other related subjects as well. We're all one people. Yeah. One country.
One destiny.
Okay. Thank you. Yabuabinga someone speak for Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen and the Alan Kyerematen campaign. He is also an individual who is very much interested in this as well. So we'll also be joined by a key person, a technical person from CDD Ghana, programs manager Paul Abrampa-Mensah will be joining us. We'll look at that. And then one of the founding fathers of the NPP, we have Dr. Nyaho Tamoklo, who would describe him also as a statesman as well. He'll be joining us. So it promises to be quite interesting. But let's take you through some excerpts of the statement and then also some statistics that you need to know currently. According to Alan Kyerematen in a statement, he said that the pronouncement made by some leading members of the NPP both before and after the election also lend weight to his observations that a number of incidents have led to a level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across 16 regions, which he says is unprecedented. And this is at the Super Delegates Conference of the party. Of course, we brought you some of those incidents as well. And he continues by indicating, as a result of these concerns and notable incidents, the fact that he especially had his polling agent in the Northeast region suffering severe damage to his eye, arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections, he's worried. And also ultimately means that there seemed to be a certain force or machination to make sure there's not transparency, not only in the past Super Delegates Conference, but also the one coming up. Because as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee, there were supposed to be some guidelines. Now let's look at how Alan has performed since he contested to be a presidential candidate of the party in 2007. And as you know, before that ultimate runoff, he polled 32% or 32.3% against Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It led to a runoff, but he conceded. In 2010, he polled 19.91% among the delegates. And as a result of the changes they'd made to the constitution, a super delegates conference, the first time, was organized, and he polled 9.87% in that delegates conference. And then they went to the main conference itself to elect a flag bearer in 2014. And this time, instead of a 19% showing as he recorded in 2010, he reduced drastically to 4.7%. Maybe that's where the signs started coming up. What should we make of it? Knowing that at just the last super delegate conference, he polled 10.2%. Very interesting. Now, we also do know that before the event itself, there had been some concerns that had been raised. All right. And so some of these incidents led to a number of concerns that have been raised. Now, let me just give some introductory remarks to Alfred Thompson. Alfred Thompson, what do you make of this? What's because you are a Bawumia man, what's the refrain in the Bawumia camp?
Good morning, Roland. Good morning, Nuruddin. And belated happy birthday to a brother and a friend, John Hughes. He had his birthday yesterday. And because he didn't want me to enjoy some of his cake, he didn't call me over as usual. So I leave the rest to him. But I wish him the best in whatever he's doing. To start with, I would say that the Team Bawumia has open arms to anyone who wants to come and join the team. I believe that the flag bearer person I know, the doctor I know, the Dr. Bawumia I know, will definitely stretch or call Alan by now to start speaking to him to see how, if he stepped out of the race, the way he can come on board so that we all work together. Because he is someone who thinks broadly about the party, about the governance of the country, and about how things should go. So he wouldn't narrow down that, okay, if you've dropped out, then that is it. And we also, most of us, we've spoken to each other on our platforms to tell us that, listen, let us have an open arm and invite anyone who wants to join, whether Alan, whether Kennedy's person, whoever it is, should come into our fray and let's all work together, because we have a bigger task ahead of us. It's not just about the internal elections, but about the external elections and about how we can put the party at the front where Ghanaians will accept and vote for us based on the jobs and the productivity we've given out in the 8 years of our reign and the 8 years before that by the Kufuor administration. So they'll look at our performance and vote for us. So we all have to come together and work as a united force. So the arms have been opened, calls are being made, and I use this medium to invite everyone. Let's put our issues aside. Come on board, yes. Come and mention some of the things that are disturbing you. Where there should be apologies, the apologies will be given. Where there should be reconciliations will be made. But the most important thing is that we come together as a united force, as the NPP party we know. And that is what we need. So any good intended person who wants to see our party on board, we call on them to come together so we work together for the good of this party. As a candidate, I have been a candidate before, and I went for elections recently, the regional elections. And to tell you the truth, if you listen wholeheartedly to what delegates tell you, you will behave exactly like what has happened.
Meaning what?
Because they will tell you all sort of things. They'll tell you all sort of things just to make you happy and believe that you are going to win, and you will win convincingly. So when results come this way and you get this vote, you sit back and ask yourself, is it that what the people were saying were true? Oh, they can even tell you that, oh, this person has even called me right now. That person has called me that, oh, we should, we should just. There are so many things that go on behind closed doors.
We'll see how that goes. Now, let's speak to Mr. Abraham Mensah of CDD Ghana. He's the programs manager. Indeed, well, I've interacted with him over the years. He has to take over a decade, almost a half. He's well versed in the politics at the local government level, and also tends to pick the perception as to what people think about the governance structure. Now, Mr. Abraham Mensah, for example, on our stream, there's William Kwabnabichi, who says I should ask Mr. Alfred Thompson whether the MPP is deliberately imposing Bawumia on the delegates, when indeed, perhaps maybe they want Alan Kyerematen or Kenny Japan, etc. Based on the sentiment that you pick, and then also how you have observed the behavior of the party and its elders up to today, would you say there's that sense of feeling among the rank and file of the party?
Thank you very much, Roland. And as you said, anytime we discuss intra-party contests, I term it as a institutional crossroads. So it's a period that unites or disintegrates any particular institution, not only the MPP. Whether it's the constituency contest, whether it's a parliamentary contest, whether it's the national contest, as we just had. So it is a period that you expect the internal structures, internal mechanisms, including the guiding principles and legal frameworks to actually work. And you expect the national executive to uphold whatever principles there are to high esteem. So I spoke to you when the General Secretary, the lawyer, made the announcement to open for nominations. And he added that they wouldn't tolerate any of the executives and high-profile members to take sides. He expects them to be neutral and support all candidates so that the post-primaries will not be difficult for unity talks. And I congratulated him for that and cited examples of what happened during the previous administration, and especially cited my brother in Kumasi, even to me, for his actions and inactions, and even went ahead to compare voter turnouts for what happened when President Kufuor was going out and what happened in the last elections and what is expected to happen, because this is the time, a period that every political party who has served its 8 years faces the most difficult task of maintaining the seats. So I did all calculations and said that singular speech he added when he was announcing the opening of nominations to me was very perfect. But I added that I was expecting the executives to follow up, to advise in any actions against what have been stated. But that's not what we saw. We saw across the regions open support and biases. We saw across the region statements that sort portrayed. I even monitored few radio programs that commentary from some of the party communicators sort of suggest that the Flagstaff House entirely was in support of one candidate. When you make such things, you are trying to say that we've pre-picked our candidates. All of you coming are useless. So any slip or mistake that comes up, it buttresses already perception of the biases against specific candidates. So, for instance, the brutalities meted against some few supporters, including one person who is in the camp of Mr. Alan Kyerematen, could be used to serve as a buttressing point for what already is in the public domain, whether alleged or real. But the statements and behavior of certain leadership of the party also support some of these things. So that is the problem that we have. I did not read in any part of Alan's statement yesterday of his next step, but I pray the attempt he made, I think in 2007 or so, that he nearly withdrew from the NPP, does not come up. And because don't forget, in Ghana here, we have had elections that a party has led or won with just around 40,000 votes. And seeing the caliber of the people in the contest, each of them will command in national sense more than 50,000 supporters. So we need, and the NPP needs every member to be part of the campaign. So that's my initial comments. But let me say that intra-party contest, especially the contest to elect a flag bearer at a period that the party has ended its 8 years and trying to renew its mandate, is the most difficult period for every political party, which needs to be managed and managed well.
Well, Abbas Nuruddin, now I'll bring you in because you are an outside observer. But Mr. Thompson, there were key incidents. Your home state, Cape Coast, when the incident happened, where we had a call being placed to one of the key aspirants, who of course became the second, Kennedy Agyapong ultimately, has become a maverick in this race, raising concerns, indicating that he was going to have a showdown. These then began to send the signals, because if you take a look at what Kennedy's camp had been saying, they had been raising concerns even before the superdelegates election, that they felt there was some level of marginalization. There were direct calls that were being made to certain key individuals within the context of the superdelegates, including those outside the superdelegates, who will be in the over 200,000 constituency list for that November election.
So being made to who?
Directly to party chairmen, various individuals who form the chain of the delegates for the main one, as well as even some of them for the current one. We had Hobson Adoye, who even said monies were shared excessively. These
By who? All candidates, or by particular
mentioned the individuals who were at the presidency. We have the chief of staff, for example, and he was very specific. I was even at the party headquarters at the time.
There?
Yes, I was.
You saw the chief of staff sharing money?
I did see. That's what.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm saying that these are the allegations.
I'm glad you've put it on record.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't see.
Yeah, because I wasn't. I
staff.
wasn't close. And then
Roland,
I didn't know where they shared the money. But that's what he said.
You see, you asked a question, and I asked, you stated something that you were at the flag, at the national headquarters.
I'm not a party agent.
No,
he was an agent of a key candidate. And that candidate is Alan Kyerematen, who has now decided to recuse himself from this election. And that is critical.
And you believe, trust me, and with all sincerity, that a person like the chief of staff, his teacher, will come to where elections are being held and share money to people to go and vote. You believe that?
He said monies were shared. He didn't give which locations it was shared.
And that is why I'm asking you that, did you see any money being shared there?
Are you saying,
because his statement,
are you saying Hobson was lying?
His statement, I'm asking the general public to think about what I'm saying, as Hobson also placed something out there for people to think about. But his statement stated that monies were being shared at the grounds there for people to go and vote for a particular candidate. You were there as a reporter. Definitely, your cameras will catch so many things going on.
Well, we were cordoned off, so we couldn't have seen if it was shared at any section.
I said your cameras could catch anything going on over there. You yourself, as an individual, would hear things going on.
No,
there.
I couldn't. I couldn't have.
You see, when you look at the results that even came from the from the headquarters, it tells you that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did not get 100% there. So other agents were there. Other people were there. Other people would see things. I've never, and I always state, you know, sometimes when you go out there, the moment you get down, yesterday I was in Central Region for the launch of the, the automated premix 4 machine, which is supposed to help cut down on certain corruption going on within the premix selling and everything. I'm sure I'll have 5 minutes to talk about that before
No,
to
you
finish this segment.
okay, that'll be later.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Exhaust the issue for me.
Before we finish this segment. That's what I'm. Oh, you can give me 5 minutes to talk about that.
I can't give you. Please
Thank you
exhaust
very
my
much.
issue for me.
So coming
saying
back to the
Hobson was
point.
lying.
Coming back to the point, what I'm stating is that people should sit down and ask themselves that I go to a center, someone comes to see me, oh, hey, today I've seen you, oh, you have to give me transport to go. People do that all the time. When Jane is here, he will tell you as this thing, he goes to centers and people will see you, oh, honorable, today, dear, because of you have to get transport and go home. If you are not careful, sometimes you feel that, oh, out of goodwill, you are giving someone something. Someone say, hey, or Jessica. They'll just come and say that, or Jessica, to go and vote for someone else because they know where your allegiance is. I wasn't at the national headquarters. I didn't go there. I was here with Alfred, and on no occasion, apart from what Hobson said, on no occasion did I hear any other candidate, any of the other 9 candidates, agents, stating categorically that they saw that they were sharing money, apart from Hobson. And I don't see that the chief of staff will go and cast their vote and be sharing money there to people that go and vote for this candidate or go and vote for that candidate. If she has a preference, I'm sure definitely, and she has friends in, she would have called them maybe sometime before that, oh, maybe it's a way, or if you vote for this person, it's good. But that is her preference. And seriously speaking, the people can decide to vote for the person or not to vote for the person. You go to the booth alone and you vote alone. If you do your homework well, if you do your groundwork well, it's not about money sharing. Money giving transport, every political party, every candidate gives money for transport, TNT. Every person will tell you that, whether you see it as TNT or whatever it is. I have never seen in this Fourth Republic. You remember that even when the Fourth Republic started, they were sharing things like Bintua and other things to people to go and vote. But those are things that people were giving out. So I haven't seen in any elections where nobody has said that, listen, personally, I haven't given anything before. Recently,
so you're saying that it is normal. You're just affirming what
I'm
Hobson
saying
said.
that political parties and elections, every time people give out something, some goodies.
Giving them money is normal.
Some goodies. I'm not saying that is the right thing. I'm saying that they give out goodies. Ever since the Fourth Republic started. Unless maybe you were someone who was just born yesterday. But from election, right from Jerry John Rawlings when he started to date, every time goodies have been given out. And I stated, in those times, it wasn't even just money. They were giving out some places. If you remember, Mami Doko came out and said, you got to been to Amponi idea for people to vote for J.J. Rawlings at that time.
I see.
It happened.
It's quite
And
revealing.
it hasn't changed. So we have to sit down as a country and say that, listen, how can we veer off some of these things? And you see, that is why we have someone who is always talking about digitalizing. It helps that human interface to go off. It helps that day where people will not even come there to come and vote.
I see.
But they can stay somewhere else and cast their vote. They don't need to travel down and vote. Because people flew, over 80 people flew all across the globe to come and vote.
Yeah, sure.
And people met them.
Okay.
People had meetings. As late as 1 a.m., people were meeting, the diasporans. Having dinners with them, having parties with them, talking to them, convincing them that, listen, in the morning when you go and vote for me.
Because lobbying is accepted. Other one, we don't generally know democracy.
It happens.
Now, Mr. Abraham Pamensa, before I bring you in, I want to again posit this question on this concern that was raised on the day by Yabuabin Asamoah, who will be joining us very soon. Now, if we have that inside of Yabuabin Asamoah, let's play it and then try to situate it within the decision that has been made by Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. Here is Yabuabin Asamoah.
No, this is. Let's go.
Yes, I'm saying that we have received reports that in the Northeast, voters were showing their ballots. And when our agent protested, he's been assaulted and is now in the hospital. And therefore, the Alan Kyerematen team is going to file for nullification of the Northeast regional vote, the entire vote. If that process is not followed through and the vote in the Northeast nullified, it will contaminate the entire election results. The rules say that nobody can show a ballot that has been thumb-printed. The ballots they were showing were for the benefit of the vice president. We are assuming that Tim Bawumia has instructed people to show the ballot as they go along. That is against the rules that we all set for ourselves. And if the rules are being broken with impunity, then we must take punitive action. The party says, the rules say that any ballot that ought not to be in the box is rejected. So if those ballots have gone into the box, the entire box must be rejected.
Now, Mr. Brampah-Mensah, would you say some of these underlining incidents, well, they also precipitated the decision by Alan Kojo Kyerematen?
Sure. I read fully his statement he issued yesterday, and he catalogued a number of issues right from the petition they made, even though it was not clear in there that they centralized the voting instead of the zonal ones they did. He made mention of behavior of biases from the top membership of the NPP. He made mention of attacks on his candidates, and the particular instance that YB has cited, I think most of the media houses also mentioned it even before the counting started, that some of them, especially leading members of the political party of the NPP, after voting, openly display their thumb-printed card, or before voting, display their thumb-printed card to show which candidate has been voted for. It's not against only NPP elections, it's against electoral procedure in the country in general. So some of these things are things that you expect the party election management body to take charge of and issue statements, or because if these things happen at national level, what will the NPP say? If it happens against them, what will they say? Are they going to lodge a protest or not? So internal politics conform to the national political regulation or elections regulations. There are no exemptions. So if any of these things happen, you expect the elections management body put in place by the NPP itself to take action and issue statements or something against some of these things. But let me say that in totality, I haven't seen any of these problems that have been mentioned, including the video that showed Alan's at the northeast or so, the man who's had bruises around his faces, including his nose. I haven't seen official communication from the elections management body of the NPP, nor the executives. Sometimes in elections, when you identify some of these things and people keep silent, especially those who have responsibility tasked to manage the electoral process and handle the regulations, if they keep mute, you conclude by saying that they are indirectly supporting wrongdoings. And therefore, it was expedient, even before Alan came out, that the elections management body isolates some of these infractions and issue statements, condemn it, and also try to assure the candidates of actions that have been put in place to investigate and to correct it, even before they go to the final contest to elect the final. If these assurances are not there, if actions are not taken on some of these infractions, why do I go in again? Because if I know these things will so happen, and tacitly be supported by the people who are tasked to manage the elections and bring sanity to the process. So I think some of these things will culminate to the issuance of the statement by Alan. But if at its way, we had a statement from the the tasked to manage the NPP elections and the executive in general, giving some assurances of correcting these mistakes before the final showdown comes off. I think we have been giving assurances to the people in the contest, but at its way, people will just get frustrated and think that things will be repeated in the finals, and that might happen. I'm not endorsing Alan's withdrawal, because they also have negative consequences for his future in the party. I believe we'll come to those that arena and we'll discuss thoroughly. But as of now, I think I haven't seen a good work from the NPP's elections management committee.
Yeah, and I sense that you also use the word showdown. So you borrowed that from Kenneth Japon's lexicon. You've been influenced
not a showdown,
by
not a showdown as to what kind was actually
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but it showed that the final election to elect the actual flag bearer, what happened was just to sieve the number to, as per the new constitution regulation of the MPP, to the 5 as they have set up.
Great.
I think it came from the background of the numerous contestants around 19 that was held in Legon, and that became unwieldy. I think it's following from that they did review their constitution and now have had strategies to sieve the candidate to a certain manageable number. So this is the actual contest. In fact, when you ask me, I will say, even though they are all internal contest, the first contest was just, let me say, preliminary interviews to select the actual contestants to the elections. If this prelims produce such unhealthy contest, what then do you expect from the final contest? That's why it was expedient on the committee put in place to manage the elections to have taken a bit of actions.
Okay. And we decided to bring Abbas Nuruddin here, who is the communication officer for the NDC in the Ashanti region. If you look at the role that the Ashanti region has been playing the last couple of elections we've had, especially influencing the voting pattern at the national level, you know that the NDC also will be worried about the voter population in there. Now, Abbas Nuruddin, you take a look at the sentiment you pick on the ground in the Ashanti region. You also put into perspective how Alan foretells what could portend in that bigger delegates conference in November, and then also the main election, by saying, the question I keep asking myself is, and he puts it in quotes, how did we get here as a party in the first place, and how far are we prepared to tread on this dangerous path to self-destruction? Well, what do you make of this?
Roland, let me say warm good morning to viewers out there. I would say what is happening in the MPP should be a great source of concern to all who are cherishers of our democracy, because in a matter of just 2 weeks, two of MPP's main political stalwarts have had to withdraw from their presidential primaries, citing very oppressive and undemocratic tendencies. The first one was Boakye Agyarko, you remember?
Yes.
And now Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. And for me, I think the MPP is on a perilous journey towards self-implosion. And if that self-implosion occurs, it may well put the MPP out of sight and back into the political wilderness for like 20 or 30 years. And in saying so, in saying so, I make reference to the antecedent of the UP tradition. You know, anytime there have been this kind of deep cracks, that leads to a breakaway. And by the way, there is a possibility of a new party emerging out of the MPP. That is the intel we are picking. And anytime...
How did you draw that conclusion?
They say vindication is in the womb of time. Wait, you would get to... Mr. Allen gave indication that he will announce his political future. So let's wait and see what happens. So, like I was saying, I make reference to the antecedent of the UP tradition, that anytime a political party has emerged out of it, they go into the political wilderness for like 20 or 30 years. And a typical example is the 1979 election. You know, the UP presented itself in the form of the Popular Front Party. And after their primaries, Victor Owusu, Reku Broby's uncle, emerged, one of the best politicians in Ghana from the Ashanti region. And interestingly, some elements within cited similar undemocratic practices that led to the formation, that led to a breakaway and the formation of the UNC. And do you know one of the major champions of the breakaway political party, our current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? He led his uncle, William Ofori-Atta, the father of Ken Ofori-Atta, to form the UNC. Then the UP tradition, the two fronts they presented, lost the election to Hilal Liman, and they stayed in the political wilderness for 30 years. So what is happening now could be history playing out. And it is very interesting that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who led the formation of a new political party in 1979 due to undemocratic practices, is now spearheading similar instances, similar occurrences. And it goes to prove what we have been saying, that Nana Addo is the exact opposite of everything he has been sold to Ghanaians to be.
How did you draw that conclusion?
He was said to be an anti-corruption campaigner. Can he say that now? Now he has turned out to be the clearing agent for corruption. He was said to be a defender of human rights. Look at the human rights violations that had gone on under his watch. He was said to be a defender of rule of law. Look at the institutional bastardization, deliberately infiltrating independent state institutions with political cronies just to do his bidding. And Roland, I don't know whether you've paid attention to this. Ever since Nana Addo became the leader of the MPP has kind of morphed from a political party run on democratic principles into some mafia kind of organization.
Mafia?
I'm telling you, I'm coming there. Which is run on the whims and caprices of the grand mafia Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You know, I'm coming. At the initial stages, you see, when Nana Addo became leader of the New Patriotic Party and some of these undemocratic tendencies started emerging, some voices of conscience in the MPP started mounting resistance. Like Kwabena Agyapong, the General Secretary, Sammy Crab, the then National Vice Chairman, and Paul Afoko, the National Chairman. They started mounting some resistance. But Nana Addo used some brute and unorthodox method to crush them, and in so doing, got some stranglehold over the MPP and muzzled out all dissenting political views within the MPP, including the Kufuor, I should round up, including the Kufuor faction, of which Alan is a by product. So you see, Roland, we in the NDC is not gloating over the unfortunate happenings in the MPP, because we know that the NDC is going to win the 2024 elections, not on the weaknesses or seeming disintegration of the MPP. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election on its own steam and strength. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election because it has a credible, a competent leader in the person of John Dramani Mahama. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election, Roland, because we have the master plan to help this country recover from the current economic abyss that is at its point into. It is in this regard, Roland, let me say this.
Okay, we've been joined by, no, I'm not cutting you.
It is in this regard.
I see you have a litany or so, we'll do that. But we've been joined on the phone by a leading founder, or one of the key founders of the New Patriotic Party. And Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is also a regular on the channel. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, did you see this coming? Did you see the warning signs on the wall?
Yes, I did. And
that's your question.
Firstly, I would say it is very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate for this to have happened to the party at this time. I believe strongly the problems the party is facing at the moment, one is from the formation of the so-called militia from the beginning. This particular group totally destroyed the democratic pillars of our party. In fact, initially we thought it was working in our favor. We have seen from different countries what the militia did. The example of Adolf Hitler is there. The example of Mussolini is there, and many others. They can work for a time and then destroy the very party that brought them into existence. Because they come with nothing than intimidation, indiscipline, being defensive on almost any issue, and it's spreads like that. But the sad thing is that Alan, to me, has been stabbed in the back by the MPP. And that is very sad. Because when I look at those who want to be president of the country at the moment, he's the only one who stands tall among them. He's the only one I can say have got democratic credentials. He's the only one I believe strongly. A lot of people, if he intends running as an independent candidate, would definitely like to try him. Now, why do I say the party has been destroyed? We have a lot of new faces in the party who daily come on the airwaves to defend the indefensible. It is very disheartening. This party has always got a succession plan. Let me go through that briefly. And that brings the point about Alan being stabbed in the back. And it is unfortunate that is being done by my friend Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, when we came out of the wilderness during the era of Jerry John Rawlings, one thing was quite clear, that we have to get somebody who was that popular at that time, so that we can have a strong political front against Rawlings' party. Now, those of you who have gone a bit back into history will remember that we went into the 1978-79 elections as a divided front. We had the UNC, we had the PFP. UNC led by Mr. William Oforiatta, that's the old man, not Jones Oforiatta. People should have been confusing the two things. Jones is very, very junior to William. Then the Popular Front Party being led by Mr. Victor Owusu. Now, these two parties had a similar problem. So the so-called Buzia Front that was left was fragmented. And then we came out with these two parties. Now, during the election, it was quite clear. They gave way, and late President Liman had it very easy. Now, after that, then we got ourselves together. Adu Boahen was so strong in presenting to the nation at that time, because that was an era where you can hardly talk. I was then in prison, myself, Kwame Pienim. I remember very well. Kwame came out, he reorganized, and within a short time, the pillars were put together, and everybody was for Adu Boahen because of his outspoken attack on the Rawlings party at that time. We went into a general, internal elections like we are doing now. Edu won hands down. But one young man then, who was J.A. Kufuor, did very well. Now, the second time when we were going in for an election again, some of us decided that Edu cannot carry the party through, so we should try Kufuor. Kufuor was really tried. He won, but he was defeated by J.J. Rawlings. Then the second time for Kufuor, he won hands down. Now, when Kufuor won hands down, we also the need to come together again strongly, together with other opposition groupings. We shouldn't forget that. And that gave us power after almost 32 years in the wilderness. So I would say that Alan leaving the party at this time, not the party, sorry, Alan leaving the what do you call it, the group at this time has weakened the democratic pillars of the party. And if we are not careful, the party will be totally destroyed, and we shall find ourselves back in 1978, 1979. So this is what I would say so far. I can't hear you, please.
If you speak to some key individuals in the Ashanti region, for example, they lay the blame rightly on the doorstep of the president. And they believe when he undertook or supported the effort to get the chairman, Paul Afoko, the general secretary, Mr. Kwabena Agyapong, out of office, that precipitated or started all this. What do you think?
I think I have been saying this all along, that one of the reasons why I broke a relationship with the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, was as a result of that behavior. But to me, that was a test of his democratic credentials at that time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have had an election, it's elected. These people were elected, not appointed. If you have had elections. Now, before the elections, various moves were made to disqualify Afoko. I don't know Afoko from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard of him. Then I kept asking myself, who is this young man who is so strong? Then I got the information about the role his father played in our party. And I said, okay. Now, finally, Afoko won. Initially, the same problems also went to Kwabena Agyapong and Sammy Kraft. When we had elections in Tamale, these three people won hands down.
Mm.
And that was where the problem started, really. Immediately, Akufo-Addo and his group were able to put together a machine that destroyed these three young gentlemen. And that particular machine was what I think the so-called formation of a militia. To the extent that they were not even allowed into their offices. I mean, when you talk of your party being a democratic party, and then you start to scratch a step, where are you taking the party? To me, what is happening now doesn't surprise me at all.
You mean not at all?
I didn't get you. I said, it doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
At all. But the only thing I will say is that Alan should have moved, and he should have known this thing. You see, when he respectfully stepped down for Akufo-Addo, and I was among those who believed strongly in the succession plan of NPP, that seniority should count. And because of that, I back Akufo-Addo strongly. Indeed, it became a problem between myself and Kufuor. Even though I was among those who supported Kufuor to be elected first. Myself, Dr. Yanis Selby, Mandapa, who is that defense minister, those who made the silly noise that I'm not a founding member of the party, they should go and ask those people. Mr. Kweku of the Western region, Honorable KG Osebonzo, luckily most of these people are alive. It was in my house at Cantonment that we decided that Kufuor should be the next in line after Eduboahene. And it happened. There were no sort of, what do you call it? You don't have people talking about money, highest bidder, and all this sort of nonsense. It's the popularity of that individual. And Kufuor was popular at that time. Very, very popular. And as I've been saying time and again, Kufuor has always been a listener. If you are leading any political party and you don't listen to the people, you will definitely be destroyed. And that is what is happening now. Our party has been totally destroyed. Totally. So I think we have to, get ourselves together and see how that party can come to the fore again. Alan Kyerematen, I don't know his plans now. But maybe he might be the next person who can get this party off the rambles.
Now, when you speak to the young leaders or the current generation, whether my generation or just those a little younger who hold executive positions and are in various leadership positions across the country for the party, they seem to resonate with the president and his assigns, and perhaps the way he has led the party. Would you say...
It seems to resonate to what?
With the way the president has led the party up to now. And don't you think perhaps that's also a tacit support of what they like in terms of these young people who are in leadership positions of the party? Perhaps also it's just a generational gap. The party has moved on. Don't you think?
As I said earlier, the party has not been like that. It is the formation of the so-called militia which brought in intimidation, even attacking of judges when they were working, chasing of national security officers out of their offices. You see, these are issues that you Ghanaians, including yourself, who is talking to me now,
yes, please.
You fail to see the dangers involved in this thing.
Well, we said it, but nobody listened.
But you don't say it. You have to trumpet it. You don't trumpet it. You don't trumpet it. These are human beings. If they are wrong, someone should be bold to tell them. Akufo-Addo is not a superhuman being. He's a human being. Very few people can stand and say, when Akufo-Addo was in opposition, they back him more than I did. The history is there. But when I realized he could lead this country into a sort of jeopardy, I want Ghanaians not to vote him into power. At any risk appeal, I want Ghanaians. And now you are saying what is happening. As for our party, if we are not careful, it is leading itself straight into destruction. So if Alan Kyerematen has now noticed the dangers as he enumerated in his statement, then others who want the MPP to stand as a political party should get behind him and lead the party up. Some of us, we've done our bit. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Now, if you have a last piece of advice in terms of how the party needs to pick up the pieces, and especially for Alan Kyerematen, what would it be? Just in a minute.
Look, those left there, I don't even know them. I will say Akoto is somebody I've met, but I really don't know him very well. We have Akoto there, Adainimo, and the gentleman Ajipon. Now, to me, two of them stepped actively, not only in the party, but in Akufo-Addo's government. And they are definitely they won't be suitable in the coming general election. Alan could have been, but Alan should have even resigned early. I told him.
You told him?
He heard about it. That if he had left earlier, because he was a cabinet minister and he knew about the infractions going on, all sort of things being done. If I were Alan, I would have resigned on principle, and things would have been easier for him today. But he has got the style of my friend J. Kufuor. You go about it gently. Kufuor was also very smart, and he was able to maneuver his way to get to where he got to. But if Alan has stepped down now from the race, I think his intention is, unless he doesn't want to be leader of this country again, he should go and test his popularity.
How?
By standing as an independent candidate.
He should go and stand as an independent candidate, Alan Kyerematen.
I say he should do that to test his popularity, national popularity. He should stand as an independent candidate, and he will see. Through that, he will see.
We are told
because a lot of money has been wasted through this election. We know it. When they come to defend, I laugh. Monies have been spent, huge amounts of money. Huge. I mean, it's such a disgrace. So it's the highest bidder who wins an election in this country now. When an individual can be bought for 500,000 cedis, nobody should come and ask me, where did I hear that from? It is a fact. So the highest bidder wins an election in this country, and that is the end of the country, because he has to get the money and send it back to where he took it from. And that is one sad thing that has been happening to this poor nation all the time. If you watch carefully, during an election time, our economy is always sinking, or after election. It does well, and then after a while, it sinks. It tells you straight that monies are moved in droves to go and bribe people. And that is exactly what is going on now. None of them can tell me that he's not using money to bribe, particularly so-called, what do you call it, leaders of the various groupings at the moment. They are all using huge amounts of money.
Okay.
Money that can be used to develop this country.
Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, we are told that it is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia who is popular. What do you say?
Look, Bawumia, at times I feel very sorry for him.
How?
Very, very sorry. Because he's a nice gentleman. And he shouldn't have allowed himself to be used the way he's being used. I mean, it's very unfortunate. His father was a gentleman too. His father was the first person in the history of this country to cross carpet in parliament. You follow me? He knows how to maneuver in politics. He almost served in all governments in this country. From NPP, that's Northern People's Party, to CPP, from CPP to General Kras government, and he continued even to Jerry John Rawlings. He ended up as I think the president of the council of chairman of the council of advisors or whatever you call it. That is where he ended. He's been a diplomat, everything. He knows how to maneuver, but his son doesn't know how to maneuver. You follow me? His son is being used at the moment. And all I'll say is that he's a young man I like very much. He has been coming to me because Akufo-Addo gave him to me to show him the ropes of the party when he got in newly. When he got in newly, I was an ambassador, so I wasn't around. But the second time he was going to run, Akufo-Addo called me personally. I don't hide things. Why should I hide it? Because we have young people who must study from these things. And say, Nyaho, get Bawumia known. And he knows I can do that. And then I did that. Myself and Leo Mahama. We took him up north. He's there. You can go and ask him, Bawumia.
I see.
I feel so sorry for him. Because if he has been able to be strong to say no on principle, he would have gone very, very high in politics. But the way he's going now, I don't think his future in politics is something that one has to talk about.
Food for thought. Thank you very much. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is one of the individuals who appended their signature to the foundation document to give birth to the new Patriotic Party. You know, we know that he's one of the key statesmen of our country. Alfred Thompson, what do you say?
It's like you've given Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo about 30 minutes of talk. I can't respond to most of the things he said. One of the key things that he mentioned, which I'll respond to, is about, he talked about some 500,000 that has been given to an individual to go and vote. I wish you could have mentioned the individual and who gave the person 500,000, because you see some of these key things, when it comes from statesmen like him, we expect to get some at least some proof or something to show. It's not yes say, mate or something. I don't like those things. It doesn't help for our growth and our democracy. And my brother also said a lot of things. If I'm to respond to that, I don't think we're going to close soon. I don't think we are going to close soon. But what I'll say is that as a party, we are very focused. We know what we want. The people, I'm glad you yourself have stated categorically that the grassroots want Dr. Bawumia. It's not as if he's forcing himself on the grassroots. He's a humble person. He comes out to everybody. He talks to everybody. He has time for everybody. He has a listening ear. And those are the things people want to see and feel. They want to feel part of you. Yesterday in, Elmina, when you came to see around there, you realized the way he was associating with everybody.
Who was associating?
Doctor. With all the fishermen over there.
Tamaklo.
No, Dr. Bawumia.
Okay.
Dr. Bawumia, everybody, the fishermen, wanted to see him. They were praising him for this initiative that he's brought. Because every government after government in this Fourth Republic, were having issues with this premix fuel that we are selling. People, they're stealing, you delved into so many things, don't go there.
Please go ahead.
They're stealing, the corruption that was engulfing this premix. Previous administration, current administration, everything. We're trying to fix it over and over again. But it took him, and Honorable Mavis Habakumsen, solid woman, solid personality, and you realize that they sat at cabinet. They were saying it. They were sitting at cabinet. Doctor told them that, listen, we need to work, the same thing that is happening now, we need to work on this premix for this to be solved once and for all. And it went the automation way. The fishermen are praising it. You need 2 cards to operate. The operator himself and the fisherman who has been registered and has a card. Because the Aboboyas were using it, the chainsaw operators were using the premix, the, all these tricycles were using the premix. So you realize that all this things, that subsidies that were being put on the premix, that should have gone for the fishing so that we get fish enough during the harvest time, were not coming in because it was being diverted. It didn't even get to the destination for you to sell it. So every time there was shortage of premix. But today, there's a tracker. Right from the depot, you go and drop, you pick your money up. So the amount you pick from the depot to where you go and drop it is the total amount that you get, because you have the quantity measured, automated. Then when you drop it at the point of sale, the people there, before you, the operator, can disburse the fuel, you use your card, swipe it on the machine, then the fisherman who is come to buy, who has been registered, will also use his card. So it's not as if maybe some operator somewhere will come and buy this premix and see how he's working around it. It's a machine that is going to stop corruption. And that is how Dr. Bawumia has always been talking about stopping corruption. Not repeating the same old things and expecting new results. But bringing
he's been a vice president for 7 years.
But it doesn't take one day. It doesn't take one day to build this. It took a lot of time to put every necessary machine in place. That is why I'm telling you that from the point of picking the premix fuel to the distribution point, to the last person buying it, is calculated
Mr.
and is well automated.
If you
it gives
carefully analyze the statement coming from the Alan Kyerematen camp,
yeah, let me just
and then he
I'll come
says,
to that statement.
how did we get here as a party in the first place? He seems to create a certain position and
let
mentality
me just land on this one.
that the president and the vice president have created a siege mentality and hold on the party.
Let me just end on that. This what you call premix thing. No, I just ended it.
You are diverting, please.
I'm not diverting. It's about corruption in the country. It's about how we tackle corruption, and it's about how we put things well. My brother, when you go that way, when you are talking, I also talk.
Okay. No, please.
Thank you. So let us see that this is someone who has come and is tackling corruption. It's part of his job, and that is what he's doing. And he's bringing in innovative way, digitalizing things so that you don't have that chance of stealing and bringing all this kululu into the premix situation. On the Alan Kyerematen statement,
siege mentality.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Taking hold of the party.
Nobody who will go for an election and lose and tell you that, oh, I have done introspect and I have realized that I didn't do my homework well, and that's why I've lost that election. You always look for someone to blame. You always look for, and that is why we always keep on saying, as a good politician, when you go for an election and you lose, just relax, don't talk. Because there's no way I'll come and stand here. When I went for my chairmanship election, I won't come out and come and say that, oh, I lost because I didn't have A, B, C, D, or I didn't do this A, B, C, D groundwork. Because it takes groundwork to build and build. You build a grassroots base by getting the polling station executives in. The polling station executives will now vote for the constituency executives. And the constituency executives will come and vote for you, the regional chairman. So if you don't do that work before getting there, and you go and blame a current regional chairman who has done the base well and has built upon it, and I'll say that, oh, it's corruption, they give money, they give
so
this,
you're saying the basis for
and everything.
The president and then Dr. Bawumia.
I'm not saying the basis for the president and Dr. Bawumia. I'm saying that if you do your homework well, you build the base to the top, because you are allowing people to go and vote for you. Those who are going to vote for you are people who are going to work down there for you. If you get about 68%, almost 70% of the people who are going to work down there for you saying that, listen, it's you I support. And so, at the end of it all, this is the line we are towing. You should know that you have a higher chance of winning the next elections, because it's not about the person who has just about 10%. So let us put all these cracks in and blame here, blame there. Every election that has been held in this country, from MPP when we started to NDC when they lost, we always blame who? EC, don't we? And EC keeps on telling us one thing, that elections are won at the polling station. Let us go to the polling station and go and work and win elections. If you've lost elections, put everything aside. Come together as one unified force. I don't think Dr. Nyamu Tamrakulo did that very good by saying that he should go for independence. A true MPP card-bearing member, a true person who is a patriot of this party and a patriot of this country and sees the future in this country and wants to leave a legacy for this country, will not advise someone to go independent. Yes, it could be good for the NDC people. Yes, it could be nice for them because they would enjoy from it. For the goodies that, oh, there's division and there's crack in the MPP. But if you want the welfare and the well-being of each and every youth and individual in this country, you have to think together, work together, and win together. That's what
he agrees there are cracks.
Yeah, you see. Most of what I said has been validated by Dr. Nyamu, so I wouldn't want to belabor the point. But essentially what is happening in the MPP now suggests one thing, that the whole system has been rigged in favor of Dr. Bawumia. It is President Akufo-Addo seeking a third term through Dr. Bawumia. You know, Bawumia has no political footprint in the MPP. He's riding on the shoulders of President Akufo-Addo. And Akufo-Addo and the Achem cabal haven't realized they have mismanaged this country. They have been so reckless. They have embarked on the systematic looting of state resources and wanting to escape accountability, want to foist Bawumia on Ghanaians, and in so doing, they are going about it very undemocratically and all of that. And I think
you are worried about
some of the third paragraph in Alan's statement is very telling. He says the MPP is on the path towards self-destruction. And coming from a political stalwart like Alan, and Alan naturally is seen as that gentle kind of politician who usually do not engage in this kind of political salvos. So for him to have said this gives the indication that there is real fire on the mountain. And on the issue of the whole system being rigged in favor of one particular candidate, not long ago, Boabia Samoa, who was the spokesperson for the Allan campaign, came out openly to tell Ghanaians that resources that are supposed to be used by the state, particularly farm inputs that are supposed to be given to farmers, have been given to Dr. Bawumia, ostensibly to give him a head start over all other candidates. Not long ago, the bosom friend of the president, Dr. Akutu.
Where did Alan say that?
Dr. Akutu, please, when I was here when we were talking, if you allow me.
You also
Dr. Akutu
me.
said
So if you are stating something
contractors
like this,
who are seen as not
individual.
supporting the establishment candidate are not being paid. Now we come to the issue of monocracy. Somebody pays $5,000 as alleged by a spokesperson of one of the main contenders, and Mr. Thompson, you said that is TNT. Where was that person coming from?
$5,000.
Hobson Adoye alleged
$5,000.
that
Alleged.
Please, if you allow me, Mr. Thompson, let's have a decent discussion. Hobson
go
Adoye
It's
a major.
I'm not distracting.
This is a public information that he said.
Was a focal person in Allan's campaign. He said after the chief of staff had come to vote, he went to the women's organizer's office and were sharing $5,000. But you people go around telling Ghanaians there is no money. Kennedy Japan's camp also alleged at a certain point that Dr. Bawumia has canned people at another hotel in Kumasi and they were paying 50,000 Ghana cedis to the constituency chairman who had come to vote. You see, you tell us that we have no money. Therefore, we have to go to IMF. Therefore, we have some people would have to endure this haircut that your government has brought upon us. Yet, when anytime MPP is going on a political adventure, you see a lot of monies being splashed around. So, Roland, like I said, the whole thing is an Akufo-Addo agenda, but we in the NDC are unperturbed because we know that none of the aspirants in the MPP can match President John Dramani Mahama in the 2024 election. And like I said, NDC will win the 2024 election on the basis of the soundness of its policy and the credibility and competence of its leader, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. On this note, I would like to call on Ghanaians to join His Excellency John Dramani Mahama this morning as he does a Facebook Live in which he seeks to engage a section of the Ghanaian society to get to know and understand how understand what they feel about the governance system as it is now. But you see,
you don't know what is discussed.
The MPP, having realized Dr. Bawumia has failed on the economic front, want to credit him with something that he has no hand in.
Which
that
is
the digitalization agenda. You know,
of the
fiber optic backbone.
Started it.
The fiber optic backbone on which this whole digitalization agenda is premised upon was started by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Right or wrong, Roland? The Accra Digital Center, which is a major infrastructure in this whole digitalization thing, was started by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Tell us what Dr. Bawumia has done beyond the lip.
Allow him. You're disrupting him.
When he's putting
Abbas,
forth,
I'm saying you
Abbas,
ask questions. Tell us what Dr. Bawumia has done beyond the paying of the mere lip service to this digitalization agenda.
Right,
Dr. Bawumia, what brought Dr. Bawumia, what precipitated Bawumia onto the political scene was his so-called economic prowess. What are the economic indicators now? Inflation is almost 45%. Inflation is almost 45%. Debt to GDP ratio is almost 100%. Ghana is on the verge of economic demise. And now, having realized you have performed so abysmally as an head of the economic management team, you want to claim credit for things you did not do. So, like I said, the NDC, we are not perturbed. We will not gloat over what is happening Mr. Thompson.
Can I read?
If you
are you done?
Yes,
are you done?
I'm rounding up. We will not gloat over what is happening in the MPP. we are putting our house in order to put ourselves as the net credible alternative so that the good people of Ghana will entrust the mantle of leadership into the hands of the NDC.
All right. I'll go to Mr. Abrampah-Mensah for some wrap-up comments as well. But let me just read a couple of also your messages coming in, because this has been a long one. Now, it says, I say on authority, and this one is coming from Nana Aimedu, who is giving us this message from Jubilee House Communications. It says, I say on authority, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo was not part of the founding fathers, per the definition of signing members at formation. He has been a leading member in the past, that is, during the Kufuor era.
Thank you.
It is erroneous to give him the founding member accolade on that definition. And then he also says, please correct Abbas. William Ofori-Atta is not the father of...
Jones Ofori-Atta.
Yeah, I think we all know that William Ofori-Atta is not. Okay, so, and then we have a couple of more messages, so we'll take them, and then if Mr. Abrampah is ready.
So you can give me a round.
Okay, so Mr. Abrampah is ready. Now, Mr. Abrampah-Mensah, if you take a look at some of the concerns that have been raised by Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, should we take them in as considerate or as key concerns that should be taken note of by the leadership of the NPP going into the contest on November 4?
Roland, you need even not ask me, because I hinted in my introductory remarks that intra-party contests in every political party since we entered into the Fourth Republic has been a make or break contest. And when you cast your minds back in all the political parties, including the two leading political parties, their history of intra-party contest, what led to Francis Assem defecting to join the MPP, the MPP, the gun contest. So including even parliamentary primaries. You ask yourself what happened at Showman, that NDC candidate will have to go independent, Shaba will have to go independent, own your eyes, so many things. So when you're a political party member, executive, and you are tasked with a duty of being on the committee that organizes intra-party contests, you must be very careful how you coordinate activities, how you build peace, how you enforce principles and regulations so that you don't experience any post-elections problems. That's exactly what is happening now. So when you read the statements, when you listen to the even pre-contest monitoring of the radio, you saw that so many things were going on wrong. And my bit is that I did not see any action from the committee tasked to manage the elections. So I am not surprised that Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is saying this and connecting it to historical precedents as to what has happened in the MPP previously. But if you ask me, I will not buy into his recommendation for any of the other candidates standing as an independent. One, the history will tell us that no independent candidate will have the chance to win elections in this country. So if you're truly a party member that has a party at heart, the problems that happened, which I'll say generally happens in all elections, even though have not been well with you, does not necessitate you defecting to form your political party. What that action will seek to do is totally disintegrate the front of the MPP and pave way for its opponents. And we have history to guide us. We can go through it to see it. So that's my bit for now. But I mean, as I said from the beginning, the whole bit of finding whoever leads the MPP is to find a credible candidate, united by all the candidates to fight the final fight, which is the December 7th, 2024 elections. And therefore, it's because on the management of the MPP, the executive, the council of elders, everybody, to start the unity talk from now. Alan has not come up with final decision. It will be better he doesn't come out before they approach him. I expect them to do their background talks from now to make sure that whatever the cracks are, they are able to mend it towards unity of the party and towards the 2024 election. Any attempt of a breakaway, even a single of them, have
ramifications
on their fortunes.
Well, so your concluding remarks then?
Yeah.
I conclude by saying that I'm not happy as an election observer with how the NPP elections management body has handled the processes for now, including them not even initiating any action to assure the candidates of their preparedness to deal with the infractions that happened in the election going into the final one. That has culminated in some of them withdrawing their candidacy because there are no assurances. I'm not also happy that as at now, I don't know that things are happening underground. As at now, we have not heard any responses from what Alan Kyerematen started saying, including showing pictures of the people who were attacked when he visited them in the hospital. I mean, only for me to say that they are normal in elections. I mean, this can't be normal in everyday normal things that we see.
Okay.
The party will have to sit up and have to show concerns when some of these things happen. And if they really want to talk of unity going forward, these are some of the things that they need to handle.
Mr. Abrapor, thank you very much. You're always a great resource person, and I know that your technical abilities, having worked in the sector or the governance space, has come in handy. Now, your conclusive remark. I just give you 3 minutes.
I believe that, yeah, he has some points that are well noted. Within the party, the framework of the party, I know from time to time, candidates and their representatives are called and they are talked to, they are briefed on certain things that are going on. Internal, you know that some of the, I think about 4 or 5 people were called to the disciplinary committee to answer questions that they felt were untoward towards what happened in the last elections. It's a sign of putting checks and balances in place. It's not everything that you come out and you say it openly that we've taken this action or that action or that action. But definitely once they've come out with certain actions, people will hear about it. But on the whole, as he said, I mean, there's no candidate who will go independent and would even get 1% of the vote. Indom did all he could, but he couldn't get even up to 1% of the vote when he went independent and started his own party. It took him years, and look at where it is now. We don't even know whether the party is still in existence or not. So I would advise, yeah, there are challenges in everything that you do. It's just like a normal life. And I say that in governance and everything, there are challenges. But the way you handle it and how you manage it and come out, it's what makes you a tall man, or it makes you stand out tall and show that, yes, I've been able to show that, I've been able to manage and come out as a stronger force than before. Sometimes you are not born as the only person to lead the country, but maybe some of your actions would help shaping the future of the party. And these are the things we need. You've brought out your infractions. It may be genuine, it may be to someone else, it may not be genuine. But you've brought it out, we look at it together, we work on it together, and we stay in together, and we correct the measures that should be put in place. Dr. Bawumia, fantastic gentleman, lovely man, liked by all. When he comes here and he sits and he chats with you, and he tells you and he shows you some of the things that are going on, you realize that this is someone who we need to take in as a leader. He's shown. He doesn't just talk it, he walks his talk. He's shown how to fight some of these corrupt practices going on. And I showed you one that vehemently was given out yesterday by everybody to see. So at the end of it all, we believe in building party unity. We believe we should work together. We have open arms. Those who are my friends, I've called them over to come into the Bawumia team. Let us work together. I even told you some that, listen, there are people we've spoken to come on board so that we work together and build the party. It's a party we are building. And we are varied individuals coming from various backgrounds. We can all not be the same. But we come together, and the way we manage each other is how we show Ghanaians that we can make it together. And I believe in the unity of the party. Thank you.
Since you're in this, I'll give you only 2 minutes. Wrap up for
you. See, recent happenings, recent happenings in the MPP points to one thing, that their political brand is so damaged, is so muddied, is so dirtied, to borrow the words of Mustafa Hamid, said that I don't see how it can be cleaned and presented to Ghanaians as a credible political force in 2024. And for Dr. Bawumia, I think recent happenings will affect him very seriously, because It gives the indication that he is not his own man. It gives the indication out there is that some people are deliberately being muzzled out so he could have his way. But those of us in the NDC, we are united. The singleness of purpose is there. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, once again, is going to lead the NDC to a sweet victory that will save this country from the mess we have ourselves.
Thank you very much. So we have this. Mike Kofi says, what is playing out in the NPP is a clear agenda stated in the Ijapadia document issued by Ofori Penin Fie. Let me just... okay, so we'll cash out very soon, and star 439 hash is always available for you. That'll be after the break. Abochi Philip from Keta says, I'm an NDC member, but I'm not happy the way leading members in the NPP are treating Alan Cash. Well, we're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Life can get hectic, and sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vernal Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vernal Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced.